Once this is developed, anything that registers this way, by the way, on the in this pleasure circuitry, is seen as important and salient. I keep using that word because it's just important works just as well. It's seen as very important to one's survival. Only things that are important to my survival register this strong in the circuitry. And in nature, everything associated with that, we'll refer to them as internal and external states, are recorded in long-term memory along with that experience. Sights, smells, sounds, who's around, voices, music that might be playing, locations, and then internal states too. If I was feeling one way before I did that and I was feeling a different way after that, that's going to be recorded again. And in fact, just feeling certain ways can be internal things that are going to be remembered too. So whatever is being experienced is stored so that I can recognize and prioritize this in the future, regardless of where I am. The memory circuitry here is interesting because it also works as a two-way street. But once I perceive something in the environment that cross-references with one of the things in my data bank, if you will, and something has to say, "Wow, this is important. Notice this. This is what allows me to have this system work in reverse and develop what I call a drive state." Now, we all have drive states that can be spontaneously spontaneously originate. Hopefully I don't offend anybody with this, but horny, frankly, is one of those drive states that would be spontaneously developed. Maybe there's some stimulus going on in the environment, internally or externally, where we might experience this. Hungry is probably the one that we're most familiar with, though. It's really hard to go through life without experience the phenomenon of hunger. And I'm gonna refer back to Cinnabon, or bacon, the breakfast restaurant cooking bacon if the Cinnabon isn't working for you. As I'm walking through the mall and I start to approach the Cinnabon store, I start to smell something. And out of the blue, without any kind of prior thought, I can find myself hungry for something sweet and fatty. Out of the blue. It just spontaneously happens. And it's a spontaneous origin of a state being developed that's kind of what the same thing as craving is. It's that spontaneous development of a drive state that's supposed to help me do something that's important for my survival. Now, as I walk past Cinnabon, let's just say, for example, that right now is not a very good time for me to stop and do Cinnabon. I have a friend that's supposed to meet me at the local department store down the road. And we're getting close to the time that we're supposed to meet, so it's like, well, wouldn't a Cinnabon be nice right now, but it's not an appropriate time. I'm going to override that impulse. I don't say this, but it's interesting. I got to go. I'm going to prioritize this other thing because the cost of having the Cinnabon would not outweigh the cost of all the embarrassment or discomfort I might experience as a result of missing out on meeting this important person that I'm going to go see. And so I have some other structures involved in that. We'll come back to that. But by the time I get maybe 3 stores past Cinnabon, I've already forgotten that, and I'm more thinking about the visit that I'm about to go on. So this is how the circuitry, this very important circuitry, normally works for things that I have a causal relationship with. So for most of us have a causal relationship with food, although not everybody's capable of that. Some people would override their friend and go running on a Cinnabon, and that's actually similar to what we're going to be talking today. But most of us have the capacity to override that without trying, no conscious thought to it. And then we go on about our business. That brings us to the next layer of addiction. So we started off with pleasure. We stored memories. We have another structure connected to that when these memories are triggered, internal, external states, it initiates a drive, similar to hunger. A drive state's initiated. And then I start thinking about how to pursue the particular rewarding substance that's important for my survival. But if it's not appropriate, if the cost and benefits aren't in line, I have the capacity to override that impulse and go back to what I need to do that may be more important for my survival. or as a better long-term strategy for my survival. And we're developed in a way to allow all of this stuff to work exactly the way it does because it's adaptive. Well, imagine if you had a couple of key structures in your cortex, and I'll mention what they are later on, but imagine that there's a couple of key structures in your cortex that are there to assign value to two different choices, say, for example, and prioritize which one's more important. Maybe doing a cost-benefit analysis on the spot, like, is Cinnabon more important right now because it would be yummy, or is making sure that I get to the store on time to meet my friend, like I said I would do, and my reputation, my friendship, all these different things that I might find also important for my social structure, etc., are important. Which one is more important? And I would likely choose the latter, my friend. I have an appointment. I'm going to show up for my appointment. Well, imagine that with this particular drive that's being initiated, that I'm impaired in a couple of key structures that's involved in that assignment of value between these two different choices, that I'm not able to accurately assign value to them. And I see them both as being equal. Then the one that sounds most pleasurable might be the one that I would take, interestingly. And it's this difference, the inability to override that impulse, that makes it really kind of challenging to not go have a Cinnabon. And there has been a couple of key structures that have been identified that are involved in this decision-making process. It's part of our executive function, which is the ability to kind of prioritize, delay gratification, to see that life isn't only in the moment, but that there's other choices that might override it if I'm taking more of a long-term approach. This is something that's unique to human beings and some other primates. There's a few other animals that are capable of doing this. But this is this kind of higher order of doing things. Your lizard, by the way, can't do this. A lizard, when they see food, they come up with two choices: eat, not eat. There's no other thinking going involved, and they're likely just to like chomp the thing and then not even enjoy it because it's not, it's just they're done basically. Human beings have this ability to eat the Cinnabon and enjoy it and compare it to other things that they've had in their life, and compare and contrast it, and a Cinnabon with this person might be more delightful than eating a Cinnabon alone. And we're able to experience life with a lot more depth and a lot more texture.